here. As you come in, you will you'll be muted, and we certainly invite you to just close your camera as well. You probably don't want to be on camera as the program takes over. So I'm Marcia Conant, and I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning, because we are welcoming you to Exploring the Literacy Skills of Adults in Your State and County, sponsored by Wisconsin Literacy. We're a nonprofit statewide coalition of 70 literacy programs. We strengthen literacy statewide through expert trainings, personalized consultation, health literacy, workforce connections, and advocacy. I'm very pleased to introduce our presenters. Saida Mamedova is a senior researcher at the American Institute for Research, AIR. Since joining AIR in 2009, she has supported a number of U.S. Department of Education's administrative, longitudinal, and household surveys. Saida currently leads research activities using the data from Adult Skills Survey called PIAAC. She is also technical assistance in administering this survey in the United States. Saida has a master's degree in quantitative survey methods from Columbia University and a background in mathematical statistics and management information systems. She also spent 4 years in the Midwest in Northwest Iowa as a college student. Emily Pawlowski is a research associate at the American Institute for Research, working on the Program for International Assessment of Adult Competencies. That's PIAAC again. She conducts research and analysis with the PIAAC data on a range of topics, and also helps to train and assist researchers using the PIAAC data. She is currently pursuing a master's degree in public policy and administration at Northwestern University. So welcome, ladies. It's all yours.
Saida, you're still muted.
Hi, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
So I'm gonna place something in the chat really quickly and share my screen. Okay, can you see me? Can you hear me? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
I am Saida Mamedova. My colleague Emily Pawlowski and I are very excited to present to you on the program for the International Assessment of Adult Competencies, or PIAAC. And this presentation and other related materials are on Google Drive, and I just dropped the link to it in the chat a second ago. Today we will first talk about what PIAAC is, the major national findings from it, introduce the skills map, and present a few examples of questions that you may be able to answer using the skills map. And at the end, we'll provide information on what is coming up for this study. So what is PIAAC? And I would like to start with a little poll. And would like to know, have you heard of PIAAC before?
I am getting nothing on the poll now. I have a big blank screen and no poll. I don't know, Liz, any way of maybe fixing this?
Shannon, can you give a chance to see if the poll is live for you?
I can see a lot of people are, oh, okay. There it goes.
Here you go.
Is it up?
Yep.
I can't see it. So who's ever doing it, keep doing it.
Great job, then. Yeah.
All right, we're going to try
Thank
it
you.
one more time. Let's see. Not where to vote. Okay, let's try this one.
Best
Okay,
laid plans. We even checked it before.
Answers in the chat. Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with the chat.
Thank you.
And we have a few yeses, some no's. Okay, majority is no. So, okay, then, so here it is. PIAAC is a large-scale assessment, first administered in 2011-12 in 24 countries, including the United States. It
Saida, you got muted.
Yeah, I know. Now, how about now?
We can hear you great.
Okay. PIAAC is developed by the OECD, but in the US, it's administered by the National Center for Education Statistics, or NCS. It's part of the Department of Education. The study's overarching goal is to assess and compare the basic cognitive and workplace skills needed for successful participation in the 21st century society and the global economy. It is administered to a nationally representative sample of adults residing in each country, irrespective of their immigration status, nationality, citizenship, etc. So PIAAC first cycle was administered between 2011 to 2017. And the first cycle means that for all of the data collections in the cycle, the implementation and the content of the survey remains the same. In total, 38 countries and territories participated in the data collection in different rounds, but US is the only country that has had 3 rounds of data collection in this first cycle. So in round 1, it was administered in 2012 or 11-12 to about 5,000 adults between the ages 16 to 65. Then for the round 2, it was administered in 2014. And about 3,660 adults participated between the ages 16 to 74. And the goal of this round 2 data collection was to increase the sample of certain population groups. And those were young adults, ages 16 to 34, unemployed adults, and there was an additional sample of older adults, ages 66 to 74. Round 3 was administered. Another thing about round 2 data is that it was designed to be integrated into the 2012 data. So it's not a standalone data set. Round 3 was administered in 2017 to about 3,600 adults, ages 16 to 74. The goal of this data collection was to create another point in time for the national comparison, as well as to assist in the development of the states and county estimates that the PIAAC skills map is based on. And we'll talk a lot more about the PIAAC skills map in a few minutes. PIAAC has 2 components, a very detailed background questionnaire and a skills assessment. The survey was administered on either computer or paper. And to give you a perspective, about 80% of US adults took the test on the computer. So the data collection happens in people's homes. And the background questionnaire is administered by the interviewer in either English or Spanish. And the skills assessment is administered, is self-administered on the interviewer's computer, and it's or on paper if they choose to do so, or have or fail a basic skill test on the computer, and it the skills assessment is in English only. So these are the definitions of the 3 domains of skills that PIAAC assesses. And you can read through them, but the basic common thread throughout is that the applicability of skills in everyday life situations. And I'll show you some of the items or examples of the items, and it will be clearer for you in a second. And this applicability of skills to everyday life situations is something unique about PIAAC. The results are reported on a scale of 0 to 500 for all of the domains, and the proficiency levels in terms of the percentages of adults at 6 performance levels in literacy, numeracy, and at 4 performance levels in digital problem solving. But in this and other analysis, these levels are collapsed to make things more comprehensible. So they are collapsed for literacy into sort of three buckets: level 1 or below, level 2, and level 3 or above. And adults at level 1 or below range from functionally illiterate to those who have difficulty using or comprehending basic written material. So rather low-skilled adults. Adults at level 2 are nearing proficiency, but may still struggle to perform tasks using text-based information. And level 3 or above, the adults at level 3 or above can work proficiently with information and ideas sort of along the continuum of increasing mastery as levels increase, obviously. So here we see an example of literacy item at level 1. This is our sort of low level literacy. The test taker is presented with the results of a search from a simulated website for job hunting. They're asked to identify a job that meets a specific criteria, and the answer can be found explicitly in the job description. And so about 95% of US adults can perform at level 1 or better, so they could successfully complete this item. Here we have literacy example item at level 2, so sort of the mid-level. And here the test taker is presented with a newspaper article on generic medicine. They are asked to identify 2 of the reasons for the limited use of generic medicine. They have to identify 2 explicit reasons, but have a distraction in the text. So they have to identify the reasons why the generic medicine is not commonly used, but there is a distraction in the text, why some statements are about the reasons why generic medicine is cheaper. And so that makes it so, that it's a level 2, so there is a distraction in the text. It's a little bit more difficult task, and 82% of US adults perform at level 2 or better, and so they are able, 82% are able to solve items like this successfully. For the numeracy, the levels are also in these 3 buckets of low skilled, middle skilled, and sort of on the high end. And of course, it's with increasing proficiency as levels increase at level 3 or above. Now go to the numeracy example item here. So this is at level, an item at level 3, sorry, at level 2, middle proficiency. And what we have here is the test taker is presented with a graphic showing a car's gas gauge that indicates that it's about 3/4 full. They're told that the car holds 24 gallons of gas and are asked to estimate the fraction that is currently left in the tank. And so the test taker needs to produce the number that is 3/4 of the 24, which is 18. About 61% of US adults performed at this middle level, level 2 or above. And so they would be able to get this problem correctly. This is an example item for level 3, sort of the high level, what we indicate as high. The test taker is presented with the information about the shoe sale. They need to calculate the total amount one would need to pay for both shoes during the sale. And we have 39% of US adults who could perform successfully, who could perform on this item successfully. Yeah, and so now that we know a little bit about what PIAAC is about, we can talk about what the major findings are. So the good news, a little bit of the good news is that in literacy, US adults scored higher than other participating countries on average. However, we scored lower in numeracy and digital problem solving than the other participating countries on average. And here you also see the 2 top performing countries on all of the domains. That's Japan and Finland. In terms of national trends, skills of US adults remain pretty much unchanged between 2012-14 and 2017. But this is not really a surprising finding given the time period studied, since it usually takes a little longer to make a difference sort of in the national pool of human capital. So, but some encouraging findings were that Hispanic adults average literacy and digital problem solving scores have increased in 2017. The same story was for the non-native adults. Scores in literacy and digital problem solving skills. On the other hand, unfortunately for those with just high school education, their skills have shown a decrease in literacy and numeracy between 2012-14 and 2017. These, of course, are just selected findings. You can find more results on the NCS PIAAC website and the PIAAC Gateway, which is a collection of everything related to PIAAC. The PIAAC Gateway is, you have events, publications, news, and anything that's coming up for PIAAC. We also offer on the PIAAC Gateway presentations on various topics. In the list you see here, and we just recently did 2 sets of slides on the family literacies, this impact of parent education and skills of parents and non-parents. Okay. So the latest product though is the skills map. And now perhaps we can try the poll here.
Let me try it and see if I can launch this poll. 1 second, please.
Okay, thank you.
And I am not seeing it. I apologize. If you want to ask the question, we could have them respond in the chat.
Yeah, let's do in the chat. So have you heard of PIAAC skills map before? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, no, yes. Okay, yes. Julie says no. Yes. Okay, so some of you have, but it seems like a lot of you have not. Okay. Okay, so then let me go and talk about it. It was released in March of last year. So maybe no surprise that you haven't heard about it, just recently released. And it provides information on the skills of adults in your state or county, which actually hasn't been available before. So the online interactive tool gives you data on literacy and numeracy skills of adults ages 16 to 74 in all 50 states and the District of Columbia, and for all of the 3,000 plus counties in the United States. Since PIAAC, as it was collected, is representative only on the national level, the data were produced using an advanced statistical method, generally referred to as small area estimation. And to produce reliable estimates, NCS developed a statistical model relying on all 3 data collections in the first cycle, so 12, 14, and 2017, all of them combined, and the data from the American Community Survey. So the PIAAC skills map reports on average scores and percentages of adults at 3 combined levels of proficiency in literacy and numeracy domains. In addition, there is also some demographic data from the American Community Survey to give a context for the skills estimates that you will see. Okay, and now I will let Emily Pawlowski talk more about what one can learn from the PIAAC skills map. Now, let Emily share her screen.
I think you need to stop sharing your screen first.
Okay.
So this next section will talk about what are the skills of adults in Wisconsin overall. Sorry, I'm just trying to get going because I know we don't have a ton of time. Okay. Is this,
yep,
are you seeing the PowerPoint now?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know, I guess probably we won't try to bring the poll up because it seems like we're not able to, but if you guys have any thoughts in the chat about how you think the literacy skills of the adults in Wisconsin compared to the nation as a whole, and also how you think the numeracy skills compare to the nation as a whole. A lot of average, higher for literacy and numeracy, 60th percentile. So kind of a range here, but a lot of people are thinking around average. Okay. Okay, so now we can go to some of the results and we'll see that Wisconsin is above the national average in both literacy and numeracy. So you'll see, for example, for literacy, it's 273 is a score compared to 264 is the average for the nation. And then looking at the proficiency levels, so these are the levels that Saida described earlier. So Wisconsin, for both in literacy and numeracy compared to the nation, we have in Wisconsin, there's a lower percentage of low skilled adults. So you see those areas circled there. And then on the higher end, Wisconsin has more high skilled adults compared to the nation. So overall, the skills of Wisconsin look higher compared to overall in the US. So now looking more specifically at some of the counties within Wisconsin, the highest performing counties by average literacy and numeracy scores are Ozaukee, Waukesha, Dane, St. Croix, and Washington are some of the highest performing counties when you look at average literacy and numeracy scores. And then when you look at some of the lowest performing counties by average literacy and numeracy scores, you'll see Milwaukee, Juneau, Adams, Clark, and Menominee. Sorry for my mispronunciation probably of some of those. But yeah, so that's, if you have any thoughts or any of those are surprising or what you expected, feel free to put any thoughts in the chat. But now that you've seen kind of an overview of the results for Wisconsin, I will go into the actual skills map tool and walk through some results, focusing on Milwaukee County. So you should see the skills map now. So when you first go into the skills map, you'll see a landing page that provides an overview of the skills map. And then you can click into explore the map. And you'll first see the map of the country as a whole, and you'll see the different shadings. And you'll see here on the left-hand side, you'll see the default is at or below level 1 for literacy at the county level. So that's the first thing you'll see when you go into the map, but you can use this sidebar to navigate to look at state level results, go back to county, you can look at numeracy, you can look at the middle skilled level 2, you can look at higher skilled level 3, or at the average scores, but back to what you'll see when you first go into the map. You'll see this legend down here in the corner that shows the lighter shading is a lower percentage and the darker shading is a higher percentage, and this is related to the low skilled adults. So you'll see, for example, here and these counties in Texas by the border, those are darker shaded, so they have a higher percentage of low skilled adults, where some of these counties in northern New England are lighter shaded and they have a lower percentage of low skilled adults. And same thing, like for example, if you go to the percentage of high-skilled adults, now you'll see some of these counties in Texas are more lightly shaded, meaning they have fewer high-skilled adults. And those counties in northern New England are a little bit darker shaded, and they have a higher percentage of high-skilled adults. But if you want to look for results for a specific county, or if you're on the state filter, you can look for a specific state. You can either, if you know the exact location on the map, you can just click on it, or if you are not exactly sure where it's located, you can use the search bar. So I'm going to search for Milwaukee County, and when you can click on it there, and you'll now see it's highlighted. You can you'll see the highlight of results for the specific measure when you just scroll over it. So you'll see the percentage low skilled pop up. But then once you click on the county of interest, you'll see a county summary card show up. So you'll see the map of the state where the county is located. You'll see some graphics of the results. There's some statistical testing going on right now, so that's why this is still loading, so I'll wait a second for that, but I'll start to explain some of the other sections. So here you'll see, for example, the graphic for the county, the percent at or below level 1. So 25% of adults in Milwaukee County are in the lowest skill levels, and you'll so on for the mid-skilled, higher skilled. You also see the average scores for literacy is 260, and then you'll see the same results for numeracy there. You can click to show the state data if you want to compare how the county data looks compared to the state data. And if you scroll over this middle, over your estimate, you'll see the confidence interval. So as Saida explained, these are based on small error estimation. So there's some calculations and modeling going on. So our actual estimate is 32%, but we're 95% confident that it falls within the range of 27% to 37% for this in the level 2 range. Sorry, this normally does not take this long to load, but while we are waiting for that, you can also
Emily, I can quickly, I have it pulled up. It pulled up for me really quickly. So let me just
I can just share. Okay. I just tried one more time and it's good.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Good. So here you'll see the comparisons for the average scores in the right-hand corner. So you'll see literacy is below the state average. So this is referring to the literacy in Milwaukee County. That's what the summary card is for. And then the numeracy is also below the state average. And then below that, I see a question about how do you get to the skills map? So we have this link in our slides, which are included in the materials in the Google Drive, but also even if you just search PIAAC skills map or adult skills map, it will show up as one of the first results. You should be able to find it.
I also just dropped link into the chat.
All right. So now back to this analysis of results. You'll see it provides the testing for each of the proficiency levels and the average scores comparing the county to the state. So for example, I'll switch back to show the state data. So if you want to know if this 25% is different from the 15%, you can look over here in the analysis of results and see that the percentage at or below level 1 is statistically higher in the Milwaukee County compared to the state of Wisconsin. And you'll see similar results for literacy and numeracy. So that will give you an idea if you can tell if the numbers are statistically different or not. If you want to look at an overview of all of the counties in Wisconsin, you can, there's this view Wisconsin county charts, and it will open a PDF. This will show the average literacy scores, each proficiency level for both, and then all that for both literacy and numeracy. So for example, here you'll see this is the listing of all the counties in Wisconsin, and the square in the middle is the main estimate, and then the bars are the confidence interval. And then you have it also in table format on the actual numbers, the estimate and the intervals, and so on for each proficiency level for literacy and for numeracy. So that's a good source if you just want to get an overview of all the counties in the state. So back to the skills map. If you want to compare two counties, one way to do that is to go back to the home page of the skills map, and you'll see this compare counties option here. And then you can choose any two counties you want to compare. It defaults to the one that we were just looking at, was Milwaukee. And then if I want to look at another county, Wisconsin, you first choose the state, and I will just choose Adams County. And you can then get the comparison between those two counties. So this will look similar to what we saw in the county summary card, except instead of comparing Milwaukee County to the state results, we're now looking at how Milwaukee County compares to the results of Adams County. So you'll see here, for example, for literacy, the average scale score estimate has no notable difference. And you can see that the graphic displays of those estimates below for both counties. You can switch within the card if you want to look at a different county, just by clicking on it within, if the county is within the same state, you can click on it and it will switch the comparison. For example, so now I'm looking at Richland County compared to Milwaukee County. You can also start the new comparison from that option there. There's this option here to add variables. So this is those variables from the American Community Survey, the demographic variables that were mentioned earlier. So for example, that can help you provide context to the skills results to understand why there may or may not be skills differences between two counties. So for example, if I want to look at the percent with us in high school and the percent employed, I can select those and click submit, and you'll see now it shows those demographics for both of our counties that we have selected in this comparison. So for example, 13% in Milwaukee have less than high school education, and 10% in Richland County do. If you want to share these results, there's this share option in the corner. And you can share it to social media, or you can copy the link and share the link. So now a few other things here. There's these information buttons throughout that will provide more information about some technical details or definitions of terms. Like for example, here it explains more about how at or below level 1 is defined and what people at that level can do. And then there's a broader information on this side, on the right-hand side as well. There's a download data button that will produce an Excel file that includes all of the skills data for every county and every state, and all of the skills levels, so the average scores and the proficiency levels, as well as all the demographics that are included. So if you want to do some additional analysis outside of the actual mapping tool, you can do that using getting the data from the Excel tool. But if you want to do that, we have a data users guide that provides some information about analyzing and interpreting some of these results. Okay, so now that's kind of an overview of the actual tool. So I will go back to the PowerPoint now.
So quick note on the tool. I'm going to place a link in the chat that has a little bit of the tutorial, or that has some information about the tool, including tutorial and some of the summaries that you could use perhaps when you do your own exploration.
All right. We only have a few minutes, so I will try to get going on this through the examples. So you now may be thinking about how the skills map can be used to inform your work. So for example, you can think about what counties in Wisconsin are likely to have more low-skilled parents who may struggle to support their children's remote learning. So if you're looking at those percentage at or below level 1, you can see that Clark County and Milwaukee County are more darkly shaded than the others. So there's maybe places where there's high percentages of low-skilled adults. So we'll focusing just on one of those, we'll look at Milwaukee County. And you can see that the percentage at or below level 1 is statistically higher compared to the state. I think it's 29% and 19%. Sorry, the numbers are a little hard to read there. But you can see it's a much higher percentage in Milwaukee compared to the state, and similar with Numeracy. There's a lot higher percentage in the county compared to the state. So that would be a great place to focus resources and interventions if you are trying to see where there may be a lot of low-skilled parents. So for example, you're looking for a community college where they may want to open a satellite campus. It could be a community college in Rusk County, seeing a community college from Price County, if Rusk County would be a good place to open a satellite. So you may want to do a county comparison between the two, and you can see with the statistical testing, there's no difference between the percentage at level 2 between the two counties in either literacy or numeracy. So because a community college may be focusing on those middle skilled adults, this could be a good fit for a satellite branch. Just a quick overview of some benefits. So for policymakers at the national level, they could be drafting policies that are based on science and valid data. At the state level, it can be used for planning and priority setting, decision making, and allocating resources. Like I just mentioned, if there's a higher percentage of low-skilled adults in a certain area, they may need more resources in certain areas. And then at the local level, you can use it to compare with state estimates or other counties as a reliable source for understanding the state of the adult population skills and to address gaps in education and training. So for state and county education organizations and businesses, the skills map provides access to estimates at the 3 performance levels that are not available from any state or national studies and surveys. This is the only source of information on these adult skills at the state and county level. There's also provides additional variables for context about their labor force and education attainment. And this information can be used to attract and justify funding needs. So if you can show how many low-skilled adults you have in your county, it can be a good way to justify why you need certain resources. It can also be used as a planning tool for organizations or companies who are looking for employees with certain skill sets. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Saida to wrap up.
Yeah, so we had a few other slides, but I think we're running out of time. And so what I'll do is if you have any questions, please place it in the chat. And also what I will do is place the, if we were to use, okay, if we were to use, so yeah, so there is a question of if we were to use this talk about deficits that people have at level 1 or 2, is there an example of a thing that people at these levels struggle with? So there are on the PIAAC gateway, there are examples of the items, PIAACgateway.com. And I just placed the link in the chat. There are examples of the items at each level of proficiency. So you could look at what type of things they can or cannot do. So the person would be able to do something at, if they are at below level 1, they won't be able to do anything from level 1 up. Another nice, and let me share my screen. another, another thing that you could look at is these research to practice guides. And those are basically, they took what PIAAC is based on, the frameworks that the study is based on, and turned around and identified what things one would teach the adult students in order to be able to master sort of the skills that PIAAC measures. And I'm gonna place that in the chat as well. Yeah, I hope that answered the question. Oh, you know.
And yeah, I also just put in the chat again a reminder about our PIAAC Buzz newsletter. If you want any updates about the latest going on with PIAAC, you can sign up at that link I posted in the chat.
Yeah. And at the end, if you would give us some feedback on the presentation, and I just pasted the link to the evaluation. That would be great. I think we are over our time.
This has been just a treasure trove of information. I can't imagine anybody ever writing a grant without accessing this. So thank you both so very much. This has been absolutely wonderful. We really appreciate it. And we want to thank all of you for attending this morning. This again was our session on using a PIAAC data sponsored by Wisconsin Literacy. And I invite you to please join us using your next link to our annual meeting coming up at 11:30. You've got a few minutes to go freshen your coffee and walk around, stand up a little bit, and we will see you in the annual meeting at 11:30. Again, thank you, Emily and Saida. This was fabulous.
Thank you
very much all. Bye.